All right, let's talk about something many of us have experienced, a CT scan. You know, they're incredible tools, right? Absolutely life-saving when it comes to diagnostics. But a huge new study that just dropped in JAMA Internal Medicine is making us hit the pause button and think a little harder about the long-term risks. And honestly, what they found is pretty eye-opening.
So it all boils down to this one big question, right? How risky is a CT scan really? We've always known there's some level of risk from the radiation, but this new study, well, it puts a shockingly specific number on that risk.
103,000. Just let that sink in for a second. So what on earth does that number represent? Well, according to this new research, that's how many future cancers are projected to be caused by the CT scans done in the US in just 1 year, the year 2023.
Okay, to really get our heads around that massive number, we've got to dive into the study itself. The whole point of their research was to figure out the lifetime cancer risk for people in the US based on the scans from last year. So, let's break down the big numbers.
And this is where you see the sheer scale of it all. Just look at these figures for 2023. We're talking about 93 million CT scans performed on about 62 million patients. And from that huge number of scans, the model estimates we could see about 103,000 future cancers develop over the lifetimes of those very same patients.
But you know, a big headline number like 103,000 doesn't really tell the whole story, does it? The risk isn't the same for everyone. So the really important part is figuring out, okay, who is most affected by this and how? And this is where it gets kind of counterintuitive. It's a fascinating paradox, really. On one hand, kids are way more sensitive to radiation, so their risk for any single scan is actually higher. But, and this is a big but, adults get so many more scans, we're talking over 95% of all scans, that they end up accounting for the vast majority of the total projected cancer.
And this chart just drives that point home perfectly. Look at the difference. Out of that 103,000 total, a whopping 93,000 are projected from scans on adults. For kids, it's about 9,700. It's really just a numbers game, a game of volume.
So we know who's getting scanned the most, but what kind of cancers are we talking about? Well, the study broke that down too. Lung cancer is at the top of the list, making up about 22% of the cases. After that, you've got colon cancer, leukemia, and bladder cancer. And it makes sense, right? This list is basically a direct reflection of which parts of the body get hit with the most radiation during the most common scans.
And we can get even more specific. It's not just about the type of cancer, it's about the type of scan. That makes a huge difference. For adults, the biggest contributor is CT scans of the abdomen and pelvis. They account for 37% of the projected risk. But for kids, it's a totally different story. For them, it's head CTs, which are responsible for over half of their total projected risk. Wow.
Okay, at this point you might be thinking, hang on, I feel like I've heard about CT scan risks before, but 100,000? That number sounds way higher than I remember. And you know what? You'd be absolutely right. This new number is a huge jump from past estimates. So what changed?
Let's put it in perspective. If you go back to a similar study from 2009, which used data from 2007, the projection was 29,000 future cancers. Now, it's 103,000. That's more than 3 times higher. And it's not just because our math got better, the whole world of medical imaging has changed. It really comes down to 2 main things. First, and this is the big one, we are just doing a lot more CT scans. I'm talking about 30% more than back in 2007. And second, our science is just plain better. The researchers today have more accurate ways to measure radiation doses to our organs, and they have much more detailed data on exactly what kinds of scans are being done.
Okay, so these numbers are pretty serious, no doubt about it. But it is so important that we put all of this in the right context. The goal here is absolutely not to scare anyone away from getting a CT scan they need. It's all about understanding the whole picture, the benefits and the risks.
And hey, the researchers who wrote the study say it right at the beginning. They call CT scans an indispensable tool. And they are. They're used to diagnose everything from a serious car accident injury to cancer. They save lives, period, every single day. So the goal here is not to get rid of them, it's to get smarter about how we use them. It's about optimization.
So why is this such a big deal from a public health perspective? Well, the study projects that if we just keep doing what we're doing, with the same number of scans and the same radiation doses, cancers caused by CT scans could eventually make up around 5% of all new cancer diagnoses in the US every year.
Now, this next slide, this might be the most important one for putting everything in perspective.
That 5% figure puts the cancer risk from CT scans right up there with other major, well-known risk factors. Look at this. It's almost the same as the risk from alcohol consumption, and not that far behind the risk from excess body weight. This really frames it not as some tiny, minor issue, but as a real, significant public health concern that we can actually do something about.
So, what's the bottom line here? What's the big takeaway? Well, the experts looking at the study are all saying the same thing. The answer isn't to stop doing CT scans. The answer is to be smarter, to be more careful and deliberate about when and how we use them.
And they've actually laid out a pretty clear roadmap. It's a whole strategy, really. We're talking about using smart algorithms to avoid scans that aren't likely to tell us much. It means choosing other options, like an ultrasound or an MRI, when it makes sense. It's about standardizing the procedures to get the radiation dose as low as possible. And of course, educating doctors about all this. And, maybe most importantly, making sure patients are part of the conversation, that it's a shared decision. So, in the end, it all comes down to this, doesn't it? CT scans are incredible. They're a cornerstone of modern medicine, and they're not going anywhere. The real challenge that this study throws down, both for doctors and for us as patients, is this. How do we manage this powerful tool thoughtfully? How do we make sure that for every single scan we do, the incredible, life-saving benefits always outweigh that small but very real long-term risk?